Someone You Should Know, a program about people you know and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sax, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sax.
Well, welcome to another edition of Someone You Should Know. And let me start off by saying happy holidays to everyone who's tuning in today and all. It's an exciting time of the year for everybody. Everything is festive, and it's going to be festive on this show today. And we are brought to you by our very, very dear friend and our sponsor, our producer, Christine Dean. You know, she is the other love of my life. And all Christine can help you with your marketing plans, with increasing your networking, your place on not only social media, but helping you to improve your bottom line in your business. You can reach out and have a direct consultation with Christine. Just reach out, DFW Networking Diva. Christine Dean, love you to death. Happy holidays to you. And hey, you know, a lot of you know me, and you've known me for many, many, many years. And I am not the kind of person that goes gaga over, sports figures and rock stars and everything. There are people in my life that I have come upon that really get my juices flowing. And this young lady that is my guest today, I have been following for some time now. And every time I listen to her play the keyboard, it just sends like a jolt of electricity right through my body. Not gonna hold you up anymore. Kait Dunton, welcome to the show. I am so absolutely honored. I'm honored to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure.
You know, Kait, I'm not exactly sure how I came upon you. I may have just seen one of your TikTok posts or something on YouTube, and all of a sudden, what you do on a keyboard sends me back 40, 50 years of my life, back to the time, of early piano jazz, keyboard jazz, and all. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it because I think even today, there's a certain segment of society that follows jazz artists, just like they might follow an indie artist or, a folk artist or so. But jazz goes back almost from the time that music started, kind of a playoff on the old blues men from the Dust Bowl. And jazz has become a part of our society. I can't believe that at your young age you have grasped jazz, and just watching you play, you not only play music, but you feel it. And I want you to explain to those that are watching and listening first why it is that music just flows right through you. And how you develop that?
Well, I mean, I'm not quite sure. I think it's just a lifelong pursuit of the thing that I love the most. I mean, I've been playing since before I even remember. So it's been going on a long time, and it's always brought me a lot of joy. And now I'm just so happy to be able to share that joy with a large audience, and just to be able to bring happiness to others through music. It's very fulfilling. And, it is a genuine excitement when I play. I mean, there's something really magical about, I don't know, music is just it's such an energetic language, it's such an interesting way to communicate. And it's a way to go deeper beyond language. It's just a way to express universal truths, universal sentiments that we all can understand. I mean, how awesome is that?
How old were you when you first started playing piano?
I mean, I don't remember. So like 3, 2, 3, very, very young. Yeah. But lessons started right away,
And like a lot of youngsters that get into piano, did you start with classical music, classical
Yep.
piano,
Oh
or
yeah. Yeah, I took classical lessons all the way up
chopsticks and
until
all that kind of stuff?
didn't quite do chopsticks, but yeah, jumped right into the classics, Mozart, Bach, all the good stuff. And then took lessons, so classical lessons up until I was 18 when I went off to college, and that's when I discovered jazz and haven't looked back.
I was fortunate as a child. I started playing when I was 4 years old. And again, started with the classics. There was a teacher in the town that I grew up in that was a jazz pianist. And he said to me one day after I had been taking lessons for a few years, "Would you like to learn a little jazz?" And I mean, I didn't know what it was at the time. And so he started teaching, jazz riffs, little boogie woogie type work, and I really enjoyed it. And I could kick myself in the where because I didn't really keep it up. But it's a fascinating type of playing music, and you have just taken it to a new level because not only are you playing jazz, you're writing a lot of your own music and creating your own music. And how difficult is that to create, just from an idea maybe that you get, or does the music come first and then you work on a little bit of the lyrics, or is it vice versa? What's the thought process that goes into it?
Oh, I mean, it's actually, when it's really working, when it's like, when I feel, use the term tapped in, it's actually quite easy to compose because it's just flowing out. What's hard is when I have a deadline and I have to finish a piece and I'm not feeling inspired, that's when it gets challenging. But when I'm feeling inspired by something, I just play. And then I pick something that I don't ever write a song that I don't like. You know what I mean? So like it has to be something that feels good to play, is resonating with the moment that I'm in, the way I'm feeling. And so it's just a really, I just try to find a way to express however I'm feeling in the moment. And I try to always be honest with whatever that is. So, when I sit down to write, it always comes from a place of playing. So I'm never just, occasionally a melody will come to me in my head, but it's more often through playing. So, I'm not sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going to write a song in the key of F and it's going to be in 4, it's not technical like that. It's very much a feeling place. Like it has to come from the heart first. And then I can use the brain to kind of analyze how the piece might complete, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so let me ask you, if you get up one day and you know that you want to do some work, let's say you're having an off day, you're just feeling a little blue and a little down, would that be the inspiration for you to write something that's maybe a little more ballad like?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing is, it doesn't matter how you're feeling. You can use that to express something, I mean, we don't, not everyone has a good day every day. I mean, that would be crazy, right? So, we have good days, we have bad days. And, sometimes it's even more, I don't know what the word is, but you can be even more inspired if you're having a bad day, because music is a way to sort of work through whatever you're feeling, and so that can actually be quite, I mean, not that I want to have bad days all the time, but you can use it, to channel that emotion.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, one of my favorite old jazz standard songs is "Here's That Rainy Day."
Oh, I love that song.
So yeah, I mean, the type of song that is about rain and clouds and all that kind of stuff, but it's a very uplifting kind of a tune. But are you in your studio every day, you know, at least 5 days a week? Are you there to create something every day?
That is the ideal. Life doesn't always work out that way, but that is pretty much the plan. I mean, the thing is, just the nature of what I do, it's very unpredictable week to week, like what kind of projects I'm working on or what gigs are happening. So, even just last week, for example, very last minute, I got asked to play 4 nights at the Baked Potato with the John Diversa Big Band, and I wasn't anticipating that. And so that was something very exciting and fun to do, but that kind of became the focus for the week. Whereas prior to receiving that invitation, I had planned to go into the studio and do some creative writing and things like that. So I do try to allow, just like a regular work day, like I give myself X number of hours every day. And the thing is, some days I have more time to work on my own stuff. And at other times, I'm working on projects for other people or whatever else is going on. But yeah, I do try to, slot that time every day. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you say working on projects for other people, what are some of the projects and all that you're working on?
Oh, well, I do some recording for, other artists or for film and television projects. And sometimes those require preparation. Or, if I'm just working on stuff for myself, but maybe is more just administrative. So it's not, I'm not in the creative mindset. But the thing is, even though I like to call myself an artist, it involves a lot of business and a lot of logistics for trying to book shows and all kinds of stuff that's not necessarily sitting down and playing music.
It's fascinating to me because the variety of music that you do, and by the way, folks, we're going to be
lost you there for
scrolling.
a sec, so I'm sorry, I missed the last thing you said because I got something
Okay,
connected.
Not a problem. I was just going to tell everybody we're going to be scrolling Kait's website on at the bottom of the screen, and it's real easy, kaitdunton.com. I encourage you to go there. I also encourage you to take the time, whether you're a diehard jazz artist or just a music lover, visit the website and click on some of the YouTube performances and all that she has done. I follow her almost on a daily basis on TikTok because I am just so enamored with this young lady. But listen to some of the music because some of it is stuff you recognize that she has put her spin on. But the most of it is really original music. And so it's like nothing you've ever heard before. Your latest album is called Keyboards. And there is just some fascinating cuts that are on that. And that's what is that your fifth or sixth album?
Oh gosh, I think we're up to 7.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's interesting because listening to cuts from some of the earlier albums, it's not like, oh, this is the latest in kind of a progression. They all have a life of their own, and some of the cuts that are on the different albums are really different from each other. You do a cut on Keyboards called Lunch Break, which I love because I'm not only a fan of jazz piano, but I have been in love with the Hammond B3 organ ever since I was a kid. And it's a phenomenal, and you're surrounded by, there it is. Oh my gosh. That's like me seeing a Hershey bar for the first time. But when I was young, I think one of the first instruments I played, I was in a group when I was in high school, and I played the Wurlitzer electric piano.
Oh, I love the Wurlitzer.
It is a great instrument to play. It's fairly limited because it's just a keyboard with a little reverb option in it. The thing weighs as much as a Mack truck. Not like the keyboards of today, but between the Wurlitzer piano, the Hammond B3 organ, you also play the Fender Rhodes a lot, which is also a much different sound. when you're working on your music process, again, now you got this idea for a thing that you're going to play. Do you think I'm going to do this for the Wurlitzer or the Fender Rhodes, or this is an organ tune, or do you work on it on the piano and then say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go over to the electronic piano and play it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, because the piano is the place I've spent the most time at, I would say it's my comfort zone. Although I'm comfortable at all the keyboards, but it's like easier, I don't have to turn anything on. I just sit down and play. And so there's just like instant access to the creative process. But very often, if I'm working through something and I'm looking for maybe a little spark of inspiration, I will move to another keyboard to see if that then suggests another direction. So I do love having all of these things here in the studio because I am constantly moving around. And yes, yeah, absolutely. It's like, the way everything sounds on an organ is completely different than the way it sounds on a piano. So you're going to go in a different direction. You're going to be inspired to do different sounds. I mean, there's a song, it's not on a record, but there's a song we've started playing live and I wrote it on the organ and it just felt like organ jazz. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it doesn't have the same kind of bite to it on the acoustic piano, so yeah, every instrument has its own place. Sonic signature.
Do you ever go into the studio and you sit down and you start to do something on the piano and you say, "Oops, wait a minute, I got to go over to the Fender Rhodes and see what that riff sounds like here." No, maybe I'll go over to the Wurlitzer. How many different keyboards do you have in your studio?
Well, the big ones I have, let me see if I can show you. I got the acoustic piano back there. There's the clavinet in front of it. There is the Wurlitzer, the Rhodes right next to it, and then we have. That's a Hammond C3 actually. And then I have a couple of, classic mini Moog synthesizer. There's a Mellotron below it. Those are the big ones that I use the most. I also have other synthesizers that I can kind of switch out, but I'm generally using the ones you see the most. So.
And all these things just go through your mind all at the same time when you start to create something. And the creative process is the thing that, would you say it's something that you are generally born with, or can anybody who is interested in learning a keyboard and specifically jazz keyboard, something that if you have a love for it, you can learn it? Or do you have to have something that's kind of ingrained in you in order to grasp that?
No, absolutely anybody can learn it. I mean, the difference is like, it depends on how fired up you are about it. I mean, like I think everyone is born with some desire to do something, hopefully you find it. I mean, that's a whole another topic of discussion, is finding, what your real passion is. But absolutely everyone can learn it, whether you want to put in the time to like really make it your own. That's where it depends on, how much it matters to you. I mean, so there's this great quote from one of my teachers, John Dirth, and he said, "Jazz is a problem that you have to work out." And I've always loved that because I have always felt that jazz is a very personal statement, So for jazz to be, I don't know what the word is, something meaningful for you, you have to have something you want to say, so you have to find kind of like what you want to communicate. And then you can then start getting more and more adept at how to do that using the language of jazz. Yeah.
Well, I think it's fair to say that jazz is also a more expressive form of music because there's progressive jazz where you start to play the theme and then just go off on a rant on the keyboard and all adding your own little special part to it. Now, you play solo very often, but you also play in a group. And tell me a little bit about your group, because the classic jazz groups that I grew up following and all were always trios, 3 pieces, drum, bass, and piano.
Yep.
And all. And Is that your favorite group, or do you like to do it solo, or you like to do it with a big band behind you?
Oh, well, it's sort of like what we were talking about with the keyboards, how everything has its own sort of thing, right? And different ensemble sizes all have their special thing. The thing is, so right now I'm working with a 4-piece, and that's new for me because I've been working as a trio for quite a few years. But what I'm finding now is that the 4-piece, so that's electric guitar, electric bass, drums, and myself on keyboards. And having the guitar in sort of a co-leading role, in a way, it just opens up the possibilities for interaction and for rhythmic, influence, because a lot of times, like the guitar or the keyboard, depending on who is in the melodic role. So let's say I'm playing the melody. The guitar can do all these amazing kind of like percussive things, like rhythmic fills. And so they're almost acting as a percussionist. And, so like the whole sparkle and energy of the group there's more possibility than with a trio. But then the trio is different and special because of the intimacy of it. And, I'm more clearly in a leadership role in a trio, for whatever that means, so it's like the more of a piano led situation. It's less of a group statement, if you know what I mean. But I'm having so much fun with the 4-piece right now. And, in a different situation, a duo is also like so freeing because it's just like having a conversation with somebody. You can talk about anything you want. You would just go there. Playing solo is very special, but it's fulfilling in a different way because, playing with other people is fulfilling in a very special way because you get to connect with other humans and make music for humans. I mean, it's kind of this amazing thing. And when you're by yourself, you're trying to connect with like a potential audience or, to channel the masters of the past, or whatever it is, but you are ultimately by yourself. So I think I do enjoy playing solo, but, for a career aspiration, I mean, certainly a group would be what I would want to be doing the most.
Well, I mentioned the website, kaitdunton.com, and we have a little clip that I'd like to share with the people that are watching and listening, because it kind of, we're talking a little bit about the feeling that you get when you're playing, but to see it, and again, folks, you got to go to YouTube and watch Kait Dunton in action and all, because just watching the feelings that she has. But Mr. Old School is a cut that we picked up. So let's go ahead and play it for the folks and all. I'd like them to just see Kait Dunton in action. I'm, I'm in trouble. Tell me a little bit about Sean Hurley and your drummer and your bass player, Jake
Yeah.
and John. Tell me a little about them. Because they have been the core of your trio for years and years, correct?
No, actually, I used to be. So what's interesting is this record, Keyboards, is with a trio, but immediately we started playing as a 4-piece with the guitarist. So I almost forget that there's no guitar on this record. But prior to this record, I was billing myself as Trio Kait. And I was playing with a bassist who I went to school with at North Texas named Cooper Appelt. And so for years it was me, Jake Reed on drums, Cooper Appelt on bass. And we were, doing all kinds of different stuff. And that's where I first started to play some of the keyboards and synthesizers and stuff like that. And then during the pandemic, Jake and Sean Hurley started playing a lot together. And Sean Hurley, they're both electric bass players, but Sean Hurley, had a different sort of style, and the way that he locked up with Jake sort of suggested a different type of feeling. I don't know. So basically, I kind of started to lean a little bit more in the pop, the funk direction for this record, just because that is how Jake and Sean were playing together, and they were always at the house working together, and I was hearing this music. And the first thing we actually did together was we put out a single, the theme song from the show Taxi. So Bob James wrote a song called Angela, and we made a cover of that and put it out. That was our first track together. But yeah, just the feeling of that, just being just sort of this like easygoing groove without a lot of extra stuff. I hadn't been playing in that style previously on my records, but it was like, this is really fun. And then, I just started getting more and more into all the vintage keyboards, and I wanted to showcase those. And I just thought this would be a nice group to showcase more of the sounds of these keyboards instead of having these really complex compositions that I was featuring before with the other trio. So yeah, I would say that the previous trio was more of a showcase of like my compositional style. And this was more of a showcase of like all the new sort of retro the sounds of the 70s, and the like featuring all these keyboards, and then what I really hope to do is now make a record with Andrew Sinewick, the guitarist we've been working with, to complete sort of this 4-piece sound,
So it's fair to say that a lot of the direction or what you're doing and playing and all can depend on the sidemen that you're playing with.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always like to write music with, well, not always, but I prefer to write music with like a specific band in mind almost. It doesn't always work out that way, but every musician has their own kind of thing. And so when you have been able to tap into who they are as a musician or as a person, and you get to know them, it's very exciting to write something that like they're going to enjoy, they're going to sound good on. And so now that's why I'm so excited to have been playing together as a 4-piece for this entire year. I have a good sense of like what we can really do together, and that's why I'm excited to now do a studio record like that.
You are located in Southern California in the Pasadena area, and that's basically home base for you. And you mentioned the baked potato, which is a very, very popular place in Southern California. Is there any plans for you to travel outside of California and go on a concert tour or something around the country so that some of us in other states can see you?
Yes, I mean, absolutely. The thing is, as I mentioned before, I'm booking everything, I manage everything, I write. I mean, it's so much. So booking shows is very time consuming, and I've been so excited to focus on the music and the creativity that always is the thing I like don't want to. I mean, it's hard because I really want to travel and perform and tour, but I really don't like the process of trying to, the whole thing. So, I think part of me like kind of puts it off. But we have been booked at the Elkhart, Indiana Jazz Festival in June. And so I'm really hoping to book a tour around that. And that will be, of course, the Midwest. And so that will be a new bunch of towns for us, I hope. So stay tuned. Hopefully, that will expand.
And we kind of share a little bit of a connection here because I'm in North Texas. I live in Frisco, Texas, not too far from Denton, where you spent a little bit of time because you got your master's at UNT, correct?
That's right. Yes.
So and I think some of the music that you created and everything came from that time that you were at UNT, and you were in a band at UNT. Tell us a little bit about the name of the band and what that was all about.
Yep. So Snarky Puppy is a very famous name in the jazz world and
beyond. Snarky Puppy.
Yeah. So yeah, the band leader Mike League and I went to school together. And yeah, I was able to do some of the very first tours that they ever did. I was in the band for a couple years and, went on the road and did the whole thing. And, right from the get-go, the music was just incredible, unique, interesting, challenging. And I really enjoyed being part of that band. And I learned so much from Mike as a band leader, because that's what I'm doing now. I'm working as a band leader. You're certainly not with the same number of people that he's working with, but just seeing, the process of like managing the rehearsals, managing the tours, like managing all the music, so I saw firsthand all the work that he had to do, all the time, the money, the commitment, the people, so much to do. And just the fact that Mike League took, at great personal risk, he was like, I'm going to write my own original music and do it my way. And he succeeded, and so that was very inspiring. And yeah, a lot of them moved to New York afterwards, and I moved back to LA because my folks were there, and that's what I wanted to do. But I'm just so, it's amazing to watch what they're doing.
So having been on the road and toured and all, and then now you're back doing more studio work, do you have a penchant for maybe doing one over the other? Is that you enjoy the studio work better than being on the road in different cities on different weekends?
Well, the thing is, I love performing and I love being out on the road, but I like it. I don't think the thing is, I haven't done like a tour for months and months, but so I can't say that I don't like it, but I feel like what I would enjoy is going out for like a week and then coming back and doing more studio stuff, going out for a little bit, so like pockets of touring. I think I would enjoy that. And I would like to do more of that. And I'm hopeful that will happen. But meanwhile, there's so much studio work here and so much to do in LA that, it's never a dull moment.
Kait, when you were growing up and coming up into the jazz genre and all, who were some of the influences that you followed or emulated?
Oh, well, at the very beginning, a big record for me was Something Else with Cannonball Adderley, Miles Davis, Hank Jones. I mean, what a record to be. And that's something I found randomly at a record store. Nobody told me about it. Like, I still can't believe that I kind of just stumbled on that, because what a classic record, and what just incredible players to have as sort of some of the first heavy influences for me. And then when I got to school, my teachers introduced me to other players like Tommy Flanagan, Oscar Peterson, like Roy Haynes on the drums. So, kind of like a lot of the classic players, Red Garland, that kind of style. And was very influenced by those. And then when I went to North Texas, I really got deep into Brad Meldo, Keith Jarrett, Herbie Hancock. So I started kind of going maybe in that direction, just sort of moving, later into the history of jazz.
When I was a kid, while I grew up in the 60s and all, and while everybody else was listening a lot to Motown, and then ultimately when the British invasion hit, I was still into folk music and jazz. And there was a place I don't know whether you ever had the opportunity to visit because they closed in the 70s, but the London House in Chicago was that was that was like the place to go listen to jazz. And while I was in high school, and this was a place where you were supposed to be 21, every once in a while we would get a group to go down just to listen to the jazz performances. Uh, I saw Ramsey Lewis in concert there, Dave Brubeck, and all. But the one person that I don't know whether he ever became the a visible jazz artist that he should and could have been, but Ahmad Jamal. I probably saw Ahmad Jamal in concert 5 or 6 times. I just love the man. I see a lot of you in him because when he played, he would feel what he was doing, not concentrating on where his fingers were. He was really thinking about the mood and the vibe and the groove that he was in.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up Ahmad Jamal because he is a huge influence, especially his live at the Pershing shows. And you're absolutely right. Like, I feel like his style really resonated with me. I mean, the way he would come up with these arrangements, it was almost more of a pop presentation, I mean, there was improvisation, but it was very different than the other jazz I was listening to. And I think I was really, really inspired by the potential. Like, what I love so much is the little riffs that he would do. I mean, he would take a rhythmic idea and make an entire song or an entire arrangement out of that. And I do that too. I love doing that. So certainly he was a big inspiration. Yeah.
That was, to me, was just magnetic, is because he would just go off and just back and forth on the keyboard, and then all of a sudden, while he was just progressing in what he was doing, then all of a sudden he would jump right back into the main theme and play that a little bit. Then maybe the drummer would take a little bit of a riff, or the bass player would do about 8 bars. Then it would come back and he would tie it together like a package. And that's the beauty of where jazz is, because and correct me if I'm wrong, you could be playing at a venue and you have written a tune that maybe runs 2.5, 3 minutes, but if you're in the groove, you'll get that thing going, and you'll pass the baton to your other players to take a part in the piece. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's sort of the that's a very classic thing, is that a song on the record is maybe 3 minutes long, but you go hear it live, it's easily 10 minutes. There's lots more to do, lots more to say.
Right. It's fascinating. So the current album is Keyboards, and all. It's got a lot of great tunes on it. Another one of your albums that I'm fascinated with is Trio Kait, which was, I think, some of the earlier works and all. But what do you see for Kait Dunton and your music, say 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the road? Where do you want to take your career?
Gosh, well, I just hope to, like you said, do some more traveling and reach more people. And, I just hope to, it's interesting because every year you're kind of in a different season of your life. And so I just never know what kind of music I'm going to make. And I'm just sort of excited to keep evolving as an artist. And especially, I'm really curious to see how far we can go with this new group, because I feel like the energy is really great and we all really love working together and playing together. And so I'm excited to see what we can do with that. But also, I've been working with a vocal coach all year, and I'm very interested in singing and hope to bring singing a little bit more into the mix, not to replace what we're doing, but just to augment sort of some weird combination of like singer-songwriter and fusion jazz. Like, I don't know how to do it, but that would be really fun.
Well, but that's the essence of what jazz is all about. It is an evolving process. That it could be one thing this year, and it could be something else next year, and something else the next year. And it's like listening to your favorite artists. You say, "Well, I like their early albums better than the current stuff," but you have a library that you're creating for everybody that follows your music. It is amazing to me what you have done, and you've been performing for how many years now?
Um, well, technically, since I started college, I guess, I've been performing. But as an artist, my first record came out in 2008. So maybe that's more of a, but still, lots of years.
Which is a relatively, yeah, it's a relatively short time, for your career. But you are an absolute pleasure, Kait. I have so looked forward to getting together and having a conversation with you, and all folks. Also, right now, because we are right around the corner from Christmas, go to YouTube and listen to some of the things that Kait has done with some of our traditional Christmas music. One in particular, you will never ever hear another version of Little Drummer Boy like what she does on the keyboard.
Well, we do have an entire Christmas record out, so you can go wherever you listen to music, you'll find it. We have a full-length Christmas album out. I'm so proud that we were able to accomplish this.
Well, Kait Dunton, the very, very best to you, your family, your band, and everything for the holidays and all. And I thank you very, very much for taking the time to be featured on Someone You Should Know. I end my show all the time with Oscar Wilde. Be yourself, because everyone else is taken. And
Yes.
As far as a young lady on a keyboard, Kait Dunton is definitely someone you should know. Thank you very, very much. I so appreciate the time that you've given me and my audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Someone